Hey, what's up YouTube? This is Terry from True Champion Gaming, coming at you with another top 8 finish at Ascent Auckland. I'm so excited to talk to you about my list. It's, you've seen a lot of lists, you've seen me do a ton of Merlin deck lists, and this particular one is not only really cool, it was originally piloted and pioneered by the chess club guys, specifically Burner. If you follow the Yeti weekly tournaments and check out Luxuria's map to see these deck lists, Burner has had a lot of success. Noel has had a lot of success with their Prismatic Merlin list. Now, I took that list, made a couple of little tweaks, not really much. The list honestly felt incredibly powerful in our testing. It was the heart of our gauntlet that we ran every deck through. And honestly, the water deck that you saw Caben talk about, that him and Isaac took and were able to finish top 8 with in Auckland, was the deck I wanted to play, but due to work and a few other things being a little busy, I didn't get the reps that I felt were needed to play that deck at its highest level. So I went to a deck that I was very comfortable on and is a very strong deck, and that is going to be Fire Merlin. So my beautiful Spirit of Fire. This is, if you guys are coming to our regionals in Ann Arbor, we will have the artist who does these, Quinn Schwarzentruber. She'll be there. She'll have a table. She'll probably have some art up there for purchase, so come check it out if you're not playing. But this deck is going to be a Merlin deck. So obviously our game plan, we're going Lorraine Wandering Warrior, and then moving forward to Merlin level 2 and Merlin level 3. I'm not going to go crazy into depth on a lot of stuff, guys, because you've already seen me talk about this deck. Our swords that we play, I guess I'll put those out there right off the gates. Sword of Seeking is going to be the sword that always comes out with Lorraine. We play Drawn Blade because our Crux package and abusing Drawn Blade with Ghost of Pendragon is one of the main engines in this deck. If you get into a game state where you are playing your Drawn Blade and then returning it with a Ghost of Pendragon and repeating that process almost every turn, is really hard for you to lose, and you draw a ton of cards. And then, lastly, the mainstay of this deck is the Prismatic Edge. This sword is the one that really allows us to abuse an engine in this deck that I will get into, and really gives us the leg up in the mirror. Specifically, I think that is where it is absolutely the best, but it also allows us to abuse the different abilities than just the fire element reveal. So there's our swords. Kind of more of the flex spots in here. We've got Terrafring. Crystal Empowerment is not a flex spot. It is absolutely mandatory in Merlin decks. But Terrafring and Viridian Protective Trinket are kind of the more decisions that you could change depending on your meta. Terrafring, sometimes we just need another turn. This deck is really about powering into level 3 and getting out our 1-2 punches, our Majestic Spirit, playing a bunch of Ghost of Pendragons, or looping our Prismatic Edge and abusing its effects. Viridian Protective Trinket is an incredibly strong card against water decks, and you're going to start seeing a lot of them thanks to Caben and Isaac. But Viridian Protective Trinket, sometimes we are down to no cards in hand, and the way that we are going to establish our board and start working back into the game after power leveling to 3 is by slamming a Ghost of Pendragon with no cards in hand. Just having the perfect amount of cards, you're Merlin, you get to go up to level, get a second level counter, draw a card, play a Ghost of Pendragon, draw 2 more cards, and really start moving forward and taking over the game. In those situations, if you are playing against the water deck and they realize and they look at your hand, a good water player will be like, oh, okay, so then I just hold up a Frostbind because there's no way that they can play anything and get back into the game. So this card kind of helps us fight that because most water decks are tempo-based. It's hard for them when they're trying to kill us to just take a turn off and keep 5+ cards in hand. So very strong. Crystal Empowerment is the card in this deck. Not only does it allow you to steal games repeatedly, so my path, which if you are on Patreon, you will have an article that you can check out based on my run, the decks I played against, some of my thoughts with this deck. So check out our Patreon as well. Super cool, and the article is going to be a lot of fun. But Crystal Empowerment allows you to do a ton of things. It really lets us power out the Majestic Spirit through Incarnate Majesty against those Water Ally decks, or any deck really that you need to get it out quickly. But I think most importantly, this sets up a lot of combo kills with double Fireball. When you have 2 Fireballs in hand, you're able to Crystal of Empowerment and add a ton of damage. This is a way that we can race aggro decks. I know I played so much Fire aggro on my way to top 8 here, and in a lot of those matchups I was able to Crystal of Empowerment and Fireball them before Recollection, then Recollect and Fireball them for game. And this was while I was at level 4 or 5. So Crystal of Empowerment lets you just do a lot of damage when you really need it. Super versatile card. That's why it's on the watch list. Then of course we play Grand Crusader Ring and the Majestic Spirit, which this is a Majestic Spirit deck. One of our main win cons, other than Fireball and that inevitability, is the Majestic Spirit. It helps us recover, it helps us stabilize, and just take over a game. So let's jump into it. I'm going to go over the Crux package first. So we have, sorry about that, Ghost of Pendragon, which is probably the best card in the game currently. This card is just bonkers. On enter, you may return a Regalia you control to the owner's material deck. If you do, draw 2 cards. This is our engine. This card allows us, when we get really low on resources, to just start to rebuild quickly, as well as trade into an ally, draw us cards, fight back for board. It does everything we want. Incarnate Majesty, as I said, this is a Majestic Spirit deck. We really use this card well. We have the class bonus Mage, so we get that efficiency. You're always doing math. I can't tell you how many times I go, okay, Merlin level 5, 1 sword 6, 1 fractal 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, slam a Majestic Spirit. So that is kind of what we're always looking at and always doing math to see if we can slam that Incarnate Majesty and get our Majestic Spirit out. Now this is the namesake of the deck, which is going to be our Ascension package, where we are abusing that Prismatic Edge, which I'm going to bring that out here real quick. Here you go. Boom. 4 Spirit Blade Ascensions, 4 Cruxites. These are here to really loop those Prismatic Edges. Also, Cruxite is one of the only pluses in the game, utilizing that paying additional 2 and activating to bring back a Crux card from our graveyard and draw a card. Very strong. You can use that at any time, obviously, once you do have the Crux element. But this deck, Prismatic Merlin, abuses having different colored element cards. So in this deck, we play 2 Fracturize and 2 Favorable Winds, as well as obviously we're a fire deck, to get multiple effects utilizing our Prismatic Edge. So this is kind of the namesake of Prismatic Merlin. And this is where the fun is, right? If you are able to pull off a situation where you do have, let's say, a Fracturize and a Favorable Wind, as well as some fire card from your deck, and you're able to get a Prismatic Edge off with all 3 effects, most of the time you win that game. If you get 2 off, it's your win percentages go through the roof. So people are a little scared by that, and they're like, well, what the heck? You're playing these cards that you literally can never play. How does that work? Well, we're a fire deck, right? So we use cards that allow us to draw and cycle and discard. And so don't get held up on these. These cards are here as floating memory, but I mean, obviously for our Prismatic package, but also just as floating memory. I can't tell you how many times I Creative Shock turn 1 after passing and just throw a Fracturize in the yard and level up. So don't be afraid to use them for that. That's what they're there for. We are gonna go over the fire package, which first off, Creative Shock. Wow, what a card. And these beautiful, beautiful Creative Shock Redemption CPRs, just great. If you want to buy some, go look up Caven. He's got a bunch. So, but this card, along with Cremation Ritual, obviously is, I'm missing one. There it is. This is kind of your engine, your basic before your Crux. This is what lets us level up quickly, continue to draw cards, keep resources in our hands, and dig through our deck to find those cards we need. It's in most fire decks. You know what it does. It's very strong. Some of our other fire spells, we have a little removal suite of 3 incendiary fractals and 3 focus flames. So we play 3 and 3. This number seems really good. I mean, if I would have known how much ally was in the room, maybe we could have changed this a little bit, but honestly, you almost always see these and they're very, very good. Fractals with Dungeon Guide are crazy strong, allowing us to play this card a turn before we Dungeon Guide, level up, and then use this to pay 1 of the Dungeon Guide's cost and put 2 cards that we know we want to get rid of, which will guarantee we get rid of those, right? So fractals are really strong, and this is just a way that we can deal with some early pressure. In this deck, we do play Lorraine level 1, so Incinerate Fractal normally isn't online to do 4 damage. I'd say 2/3 of the time, at least, maybe even more than that, you are going to play an Incinerary Fractal with the 2 damage and then swing with your Lorraine for that extra 1 to kill a 3 health unit. Which that does come up and is really strong into all the lurking assailants that you see. Lastly, the inevitability, the best card in the deck, Fireball. This card's insane. It really does everything you could ever ask for. It's removal, it's poke damage, it helps you level up if it has to be, but most importantly, it is absolute inevitability and the reason that we play fire in Merlin. Fireball, the later the game goes, the more you guarantee that you will kill them if they don't kill you. Fireball does 1+ level damage to target unit, and because we are a mage, we get that 2 less to activate. Boom. I don't need to go into it much. You guys know how Fireball works, but in this deck, our levels get so high that we can just blow people up. We'll go through the allies, which there are not many. We play 2 Hasty Messenger. Because we have those offsuit floating memories, she's really, really good to help us dump it with Creative Shock, obviously, or Hasty Messenger. Get those in the yard, use them as floating memory if we don't have another way to dump early. That's really all she's there for. Get a couple of floating memory in there. A lot of times, and I was talking about this earlier because we're going to talk about Stalwart Shieldmate with Cremation Ritual, which is our main 1-2 punch combo for drawing cards with floating. Hasty is really like our 5th and 6th Stalwart Shieldmate. I can't tell you how many times I play this early, attack, discard a floating memory, maybe a Fracturize or a Fast Cure, which I'll get into in a minute, something like that, and then just Cremation Ritual it away and feel great about it. So super strong. Oops. The next ally, Dungeon Guide. She's amazing. She does everything we need in this deck. She helps us turbo to 3 and get our Crux package online. I make the joke a lot, and to a lot of you guys in Auckland that I got to meet and hang out with, you heard me joke about how all the cards in Fire Merlin are bad, other than her Crux cards and Fireball, of course. But Dungeon Guide helps us get into our late game faster and for cheaper. So she is really powerful. Games that you get to Dungeon Guide, your win percentage goes through the roof versus games when you don't have her. The last ally is going to be Varuk and Acolyte, which we play 1 of, and I'm also just going to put these 2 Spurn to Ash. We played this little package here to deal with Regalia. Varuk and Acolyte is a crazy, crazy tempo play in the mirror or against Lorraine decks. Super powerful. It blows up a Regalia with a cost of 0. I mean, there's a lot of things you can blow up with it. But then, of course, our levels do get high, and she has level 3+. She gets to be a 3 attack. So sometimes, every now and then, she just comes down for 3 and swings for 3, and that's what you need her for. So she's good. Spurn to Ash. You know, this is absolutely crazy, and Caven and Isaac would tell you the same thing. I might have been the only player with Spurn to Ash in my deck in the room. People were not respecting Water and Scepter of Lumina. And honestly, I wish I had more Spurn to Ash. I didn't play against Water until the quarterfinals against Caven, where we had an awesome match that went to game 3, super close, nail biter. But the games that I Spurned to Ash him in game 1 let me take the game. So very, very strong card. And then obviously we just want to have answers to a lot of situations because we are a control deck. Kind of mid-rangey control, honestly. We do a lot, but being able to have answers to everything is something that we're able to do because we draw so many cards. And because we played this card, Scry the Skies. It's funny enough, this card was a card that I had on the chopping block. The day before, I sat down with Caben and Isaac. We were doing some last minute testing in New Zealand, and I was like, man, what do you guys think about this card? In testing, it had been, sometimes it was good. Most of the time, it was just used to put a card into memory so that I could level up. But I know against Caben, I used this card to dig for, I actually grabbed a Spurn with it to utilize it, but it got 3 cards that if I would have just drawn them, I definitely would have just lost the game because they were dead. So it is a very good card, and the higher your levels get, you just get to end the game. In the mirror, this card is one of your biggest haymakers. So, Scry the Skies, good card. Resolute Stance. You guys know what it does. Helps you live longer against the Flood, against aggro when they're really swarming you. And also, sometimes you just play a Resolute Stand at the end of your opponent's turn and level up because you need to put cards down. Last card in the main deck, Fast Cure. This card never ceases to amaze me. If opponents don't understand playing around it or can't play around it, this card is basically a time walk. You get a whole nother turn because they just use their turn to swing into you for 4 or 5 damage. Boom, you Fast Cure, gain it all back, and get to level up. Super, super strong. I played against a very good Fire Xander player. And I was able to pull off a Fast Cure, and with this card on the stack, play another Fast Cure, so that when they both resolved, I had less influence than him, and I gained 8 damage. Or gained 8 life. So you can do some really cool combos with Fast Cure, and a lot of the times you're just using it to level up. So last thing, real quick, that we were going to talk about is my sideboard. So the sideboard that I chose for this event, I played 2 Disintegrate and 2 Blanche Sheltering Saint. These are my non-material deck sideboard cards. Disintegrate and Blanche, they kind of come in a lot of the same stuff. Disintegrate, obviously for the mirror, deal with Majestic Spirits, really, really, really strong. And sometimes killing Regalia if our level's going to get high enough, or just killing an ally that's really, really annoying. It does come up. It is a great card. And sometimes you just need that extra way to deal with things. Blanche was a rock star for me. Card is very, very strong in the mirror. Card is insanely strong against Fire Xander. It didn't really come up in my matches against him. But in testing, I know it always has been very solid. And I mean, you know what she does. She's Blanche. We use her to stop non-attack damage. Sometimes you can combo her out and do some pretty cool stuff. Stop just a couple of damage. I played against Rye, which was my one loss during Swiss, but I did have a Blanche and it did buy me a turn. Unfortunately, I was not able to capitalize on that. But those are the non-material deck cards. Then we play Quicksilver Grail, Nullifying Lantern. You love it. You know this combo. We have to respect Graveyard Fire decks, and this is how we are able to buy at least 1 turn, if not 2 turns, against them when they combo off really hard. And then lastly, we play Azure Protective Trinket and Tithe Proclamation. So Azure Protective Trinket is just, honestly, I thought there was going to be like a lot of erupting and things like that. They've been doing really well lately online. You guys, I did a deck tech on a regional top that I had in Florida on a erupting deck, so I respect erupting a lot. Luckily, I played against fire in every single round of the entire tournament until the quarterfinals. So this card did come up, and I played against a lot of fire aggro Lorraine, where this card actually was a great sideboard option. And then Tithe Proclamation, this card definitely feels a little underwhelming compared to before the bans and of Reckless Conversion and Blade of Avarice, Sword of Avarice, whatever the heck it's called. I already forgot about it. It's dead to me. But Tithe Proc, at worst, it's a generic card we can bring in because we do play that Water Trinket in the main. So if we play against the deck that maybe none of that makes sense, but the Water Trinket doesn't do anything. Yeah. So that's pretty much it, man. Honestly, thank you guys so much for checking this out. I cannot wait to see you guys again. Say hi, check us out in Discord, check out our regional event. I'll talk to you soon.